I'm going to try and solve the tree traverser exercise. And since this exercise is more about process than the finished product, I'm going to show how I solved it rather than just display the finished product, the finished JS file. So the first thing when given an exercise is actually read the exercise text and see if it contains clues. See, my first task is to build a simple tree traverser, a piece of code that walks to a tree of HTML elements and writes info to the console. Take advantage that everything is an element that's linked to element. I might be able to use that. Maybe even an HTML element. I might also be able to use that. And use the corresponding children methods to get child elements rather than child nodes that get you nodes. Okay, I'm not sure about what to do with this, but I'll remember it for later. So my requirements are all JavaScript must be placed in the file tree traverser. Yeah, that JS file must be included in this HTML file. That's the one here. And you are not to modify the HTML in any way. My code must output to the console. Output must include tag name of each HTML element in the order they appear. This means children's before siblings. I think that means I put body, header, nav, AAAA, and then main, and not header, main, and so on. That makes sense. And your attributes, name and value of each HTML element, like ID equals top. Okay, now I think I'm ready to get started. Here are some suggested subtasks. Make the tree traverser JS file and include it in the HTML. Well, that's actually two tasks, but yeah. First we make tree traverser.js and include it in the HTML at the very bottom. I guess that you're not to modify the HTML in any way, didn't take this into account. Besides adding the script tag. Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to read. Good. Make a function called traverse and let it be called the instant the DOM is ready. That's also two things. I can create a function called traverse. I don't know what it should do, but let's console log the name, just so we know it exists. Let it be called the instant the DOM is ready. As far as I remember, we can ask the window for an event when the DOM content is loaded. I might be wrong. Let's see if it actually works. Over here, we open the console. Shouldn't have. And reload. No. Maybe I should save this and save this. Oh, it works. Traverse is written to the console. Good. So, in the traverse function, find the document element and console log that. Okay, I think the document element, I also remember that. Const, what should I call it? Doc element. That would be the document element. Console log. Just like that. Yes, it works, it writes everything. Woohoo! So, point 4. Make a separate function to display info about an element and let that do the console logging rather than doing it in traverse. Pass the document element to that function. Okay, function, a separate function to display info. I'm just calling it display info. And pass the document to that function. Then I need a parameter, an element. so I can pass something to it, and then I'm going to console log info about that element. First, I'm just going to console log the element directly, and then I'm going to replace this console log with my display info for the doc element. See, this should result in exactly the same. Yes, except I can see here it's in line 14 that it's console logging. So far so good. Okay, but I actually want to display the correct info about the element. I need the tag name of each HTML element and attributes. Maybe I should have read through all these before. Make the display function check if it has children, loop over them. Remember that you have a function for displaying. Before checking for children, check for attributes. Okay, so I don't need to check attributes yet. But so I need the tag name. How do I find the tag name? Let's take a look. I open this HTML element. I'm going to use a bit more space. There's something called, oh, that was the wrong one. Is there something called tag name? Let's find tag. No. Not really. Properties. Let's see, it should be a property of the tag name here. Don't see any. So maybe, well, all element, maybe it's on element, because the SVG elements also has a tag name, I think. There's a class. Oh, that was something. Attributes. I might be able to use that later. Sweet. I can't find it. Let's search. Tag. Element.tag name. Returns a string with the name of the tag. Cool. So I will create a string here. Const str equals. Let's just say element. And then console log that one. Just closing. So it writes the element name. It looks a bit better. Now we need here, make the display function check if the element has children and loop over them. Remember that most DOM elements have weird lists, so you need to convert into an array. Console log the children. Okay, so we need to know the display function here. It needs to know here if the element has children. Maybe there's something like element does has children. Let me just try. Can I get one? Document query. Let's just select a random element. This one. And ask has children. There's something called has child nodes. Is that called child elements? No. Maybe look here, element. Let's ask for children. We can remove, and there's a basic support of children. There's a property called children. It's actually on parent node and not element, but since element implements parent node, that should also work here. So what does that do? You can ask it example here. Children. Okay, so we get a list of all the children. How do we check if it has children? How about just saying const, we get the children, that's the element children, and if the length of these children is more than 0, then there are children. I'm spelling it wrong. So what does it do? Loop over them. So we're going to write children for each, and what? And call console log for each child. Does that work? No. Children for each is not a function, because children is not an array. Of course, it just says you need to convert into an array. Children is array dot from element children. So okay, now I loop over the children of the HTML element. Cool. So remember that you already have a function for displaying info about elements, and call that function for each child rather than console log. Okay, so rather than using console log, I'm going to use my display info function that should then display the tag name of each child. Whoa! And it takes all the children of the children of the children, because of course every time I call display info, it goes through all the children of that element and goes, wow, it actually works. Is it correct? HTML, head, meta, title, body, header, nav, 5A's, main, section, H2P. Yeah, it seems correct. Amazing. Okay, so now I just need here, in the code before checking for children, check for attributes and loop over them and log each to the console. That would be here. Const attributes, and that would, I found this, where was it? I found it somewhere. Saw attributes. Was it here? No, it was an element. Element properties. There, attributes. Returns a named node map object containing, yeah, that's also not an array. So, but maybe I can just convert it from element dot attributes and then loop over them for each. What should I do? I forgot. Loop over them and log each to the console. If I just console log it, then yeah, that doesn't look good. What is a named node map? Represents a collection of etc. objects, and okay, so everyone is an editor object. So we can ask that for name, owner element, specified and for name and value. Okay, so if I do it like maybe I need a function that receives this editor, and this function should then console log something with the editor name equals the value. So it looks like in the HTML right here it says name equals quotation marks and value, and backtick end. Let's see how that works. Yes, works fine. So, was that it? Got H. I'm done. That's all. The additional features, not right now.